Well, everyone, the Arizona Coyotes are East Valley bound. They will be leaving Glendale. No, we're not talking about Rio Salado yet, but a major hurdle has been cleared for Arizona to stay in Arizona, and that's just what's going on. They will be staying in Arizona for at least a few years longer. We're going to talk about that and all the details that come with it on today's episode of Locked On Coyotes.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Robyn and that is Carl Pavlik. On this wonderful episode of Locked On Coyotes, we want to thank everyone for making this show your first listen every day. We're free and available on all platforms, including on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, here's a huge day for Arizona, for the Arizona Coyotes, and just for Arizona sports fans, because Carl, the Coyotes got it done. They are going to be in the state of Arizona for 3 more years. And yes, it's not a big arena. Because we're talking about they are moving in with Arizona State.
Yes. It's funny because on the one hand, it seems like a very procedural thing. As a former Arizona State University student, I just remember like all the time the Board of Regents were doing stuff, and it never really affected me. But it's also a very significant thing because this was a major hurdle for the Coyotes. I never really had any doubts that they were going to get it done, but it was a question mark, and it's been answered.
It's been answered, and it's been made official because on Thursday afternoon, the Board of Regents met, and they decided that the proposal that the Coyotes put forth to move into their multipurpose arena, which is where their hockey team and other programs are going to be playing next year also, you'd be like, okay, we accept your proposal. Let's get going because there's a lot to it. And let's clear the first thing up, Carl, and why they approved this proposal from Arizona. And the first thing is the fact that Alex Morello and the Coyotes ownership said, okay, what we're going to do is we are going to pay the $19.7 million extra money that it's going to take to upgrade the facilities to NHL ready up front, and all the rent up front. Everything's paid up front.
Yes, and that was actually noted in the PHNX article. The fact that everything was paid up front made it very easy for them to be like, all right, the risk for this is absolutely minimal. The Coyotes are going to be paying for some improvements. Like you mentioned, $19.7 million. That gets to stay with ASU. I've seen some people kind of be surprised by that, and it's like the Coyotes aren't going to take it with them.
What? How do they take it? How do they take this stuff with them? It's like, all right, let's load up the locker rooms, let's load up the freaking walls and everything, and we're coming. And in the press box, it's coming with us to Rio Salado. Like, come on.
I mean, they could. Stranger things have happened. We live in Arizona. London Bridge is in Arizona for some reason. It was moved brick by brick to Lake Havasu. So stranger things have happened, but it would be very weird if the Coyotes decide to do that. So yeah, this is all win for ASU.
Yeah, and it's it helps create a good relationship with the team. There kind of wasn't they kept and it's always been there. There were struggles in the past, and obviously you look back towards the arena deal they had. What was that now? 5 years ago, 6 years ago. At least the last one that happened. And unfortunately that one didn't fall through. But there's always been the basis of a relationship between the Coyotes and Arizona State there, mainly because Arizona State had its hockey program growing up during these last few years. And now it's in the NCAA, and it's like, okay, let's see what we can do to help each other out.
Yeah, absolutely. I was following ASU hockey when they were an ACHA team, and there was still that relationship with the Coyotes. But watching the Arizona State program develop the way that it has been truly phenomenal. Seeing the Coyotes kind of work with them on that has just been really cool. I do not think this could have happened like when I was first getting into the Coyotes in 2011 because ASU having an ice arena like that just seemed like completely foreign to me. That was nowhere near the landscape of hockey in Arizona at the time, and it is now, and that's great.
I know, and that's the thing I love the most because um, it's just seeing hockey grow here down here, and I think the Coyotes put the perfect tweet out and pretty much says hockey belongs in the desert, people.
Yeah, and they are doing everything they can to keep it. We always like hear ownership groups say, "Yes, we are committed to staying in Arizona," um, and this is probably the biggest indication we've seen in a very long time that yes, they are absolutely telling the truth. I know it's 2022. We're all very cynical. Uh, People lie to us all the time, but the Coyotes are telling the truth. They want to stay in Arizona. The NHL is telling the truth. It makes sense for the Coyotes to stay in
Well,
Arizona.
look at the kind of brand they're putting. Obviously, with Kachina and with trying to tap into the Latin fan base and everything like that, and like it just makes sense for them to stay here.
Yeah, it does, and that seems to be working well. And let's not beat around the bush too much. Something we've talked about a lot. Gambling is a thing now.
Hmm.
So there is legalized sports betting, um, which is got to be making the Morello Group a lot of money.
Especially with the Sahara Bets now app now out for them. Like they're doing a lot of stuff. They're trying to rack in all that money.
Yeah. Speaking of being a former ASU student, it is mind blowing that an ASU building is likely going to have alcohol and gambling like on site. I would never have thought that would have happened when I was going to ASU, which was notoriously any alcohol on campus at the time.
Whoa, yeah, they're slowly moving that. Like I was in the latter years um, of alcohol not being served on campus at U of A. Like I think it was my senior year in which they're like, you know what? I think we can make some money off of this.
Yeah, making money off of it has definitely always been a thing. I I just it's crazy to think that ASU is going to have a hockey uh, multi-purpose arena. Just mind blowing. And
With NHL quality like
with
facility.
yeah, and think about how easy it's going to be to grow the program that way. Uh, I saw the one of the members, I think, of the board mentioned that like yeah, Coyotes are going to be playing the Pittsburgh Penguins right in the middle of the ice is going to be Sun Devils logo. It's going to attract a bunch of people to their college program. Again, win-win.
I mean, and again, going back to what we were saying, that's the kind of point of all this, right? To grow the game of hockey, not just growing the Coyotes fan base, but growing hockey everywhere, and that's what I wanted to keep putting forth on this podcast is talking about the growth of hockey in the state of Arizona, and and that's what I'm going to hope you be trying to do with some guests coming up in the future, in the either the next couple of weeks, next couple of months, bring in guests talk about hockey belonging in Arizona and down here in the Southwest and everything like that with development.
Yeah, definitely. And there are lots of people involved in making sure that hockey stays in Arizona to the level that it's at.
Exactly, though. We still got more to get to on this episode of Locked On Coyotes. We're still breaking down as much as we can as the Arizona Coyotes and Arizona Board of Regents in Arizona State finally approved agreement that the Arizona Coyotes will be playing at the Arizona State Multipurpose Arena for at least 3 years. We're going to talk more about that in just a sec, but first, a quick word from Carl.
So it's the time of year where pretty much everyone has given up on all their New Year's resolutions. But not this year. I'm sticking to my resolutions to eat right thanks to Built Bar. It almost feels like I don't really have a resolution because I really enjoy eating them. It's not a chore. That's the best thing that you can do to keep on track with any kind of eating right. Making sure that the things you like are really good, like the puffs. If you haven't tried the puffs, you're really missing out. Puffs are the first ever protein infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy, and they're more than just a protein bar. They're a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. All of the Built Bar stuff is covered in real chocolate, which is great, and they're also really healthy. Or, healthy. They're 130 calories, only 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Much better than a candy bar, which tends to have 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. What I want you to do is go to built.com and use the promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off at your order. That's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com.
So let's continue our conversation on Locked On Coyotes. Once again, Robyn Leonio and Carl Pavlik, as the Arizona Coyotes come into agreement to play at ASU's arena for at least 3 years. Obviously, this still comes with some opposition, Carl. There are people who are not a fan of this, people who have some concerns, which, again, rightfully so, right? Because it's a small arena, and it's 5,000 seats. Probably it's going to go down to 3,500 by the time everything gets put into place, because they got to put in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. There are concerns, and I think those concerns are being addressed. I will always point to the fact that there's going to be luxury seating at the ASU arena, which would not have been possible at the Veterans Coliseum. And I think that is a major point that people who don't necessarily think about ticketing money don't necessarily think about, but it's very big. But yeah, it seems like the concerns aren't overwhelming. At least no one's threatening anything at this time. Everyone's just like, yeah, it sucks, but it is what it is.
And that seems to be the case. So I think when it was when we were at the advanced talk stage, Gary Bettman became aware of it, and he's like, yeah, not ideal, but we'll take it as a temporary solution.
Yeah.
You have a statement that Craig Morgan tweeted out via a statement from the NHL Players Association that they've got concerns, but they will take it for the temporary solution.
Yeah. So again, this was tweeted out by Craig Morgan from the NHL Players Association. We are presently in discussions with the NHL and the club about concerns raised by the Coyotes' agreement to play in the new but much smaller arena at ASU. Obviously, this works only in the short term while a new arena is built. We trust that the plans will be finalized and construction will begin as soon as possible. So I think reading between the lines on that, the Players Association, they're not super happy about it because it's a reduction hockey related revenue. But they're fine with it as long as we all agree that this is a temporary solution, which I think everyone does, but people on Twitter seem to forget.
Yeah, people think that 3 years is permanent for some reason.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Do you not realize that there is still currently a $1.7 million proposal in the pipeline at the Tempe City Council?
Yeah. And I mean, I kind of get it because we've all been living in a very weird time, and time is very strange for everyone I talk to. Like, can you even imagine 3 years ago? No, I can't. It was a completely different world. But 3 years is not that long, especially for a sport. And who knows? Maybe they can do it faster. I have seen buildings go up around ASU very quickly, and 3 years seems like it's a good estimate, but you never know what happens.
And here's the interesting thing. Now that I was reading some of the stuff from the Board of Regents, stuff like that. So they were approved for 3, with the potential for more, and they said there was really no cap on how long, so long as Arizona pays for it.
Yeah.
Which is actually what I found interesting, because I would have figured that they would be like, yeah, at this point, you should get kicked out.
I mean, sure, but why would ASU benefit from anything like that?
No. I
There,
mean, not they wouldn't say that specifically, but be like, but not have that language in there. But
that's just one of those things that's going to piss off like everyone who wants to cherry pick. But like, if you are Arizona State University, you're just like, sure, you could stay forever.
I mean, if you want to
Never
give
going to
us,
happen, but I'm not
yeah,
going to rule it out.
if you're gonna keep giving us money, we're not
Yeah.
going to complain,
I mean, that's kind of the situation for everything in business. If you're going to keep paying me, sure, whatever. Why
right?
not?
I mean, that's the point of it all, right?
Yeah.
That is the point of it all, to make money, and the Board of Regents is like, I mean, yeah, I guess, whatever.
This
Um,
is like just a like masterclass in ASU being like, sure, yeah, just keep offering us stuff. We're fine. We're not going to argue against ourselves.
yeah, I'm taking a look at some of the other details here, and a lot of people were talking about like a lot of our not our listeners, but a lot of listeners and readers across of all of hockey Twitter and hockey media who are absorbing all this information have this concern of how it's going to affect revenue sharing and escrow and everything like that. According to the ESPN article published earlier today, NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman said that Coyotes playing at ASU won't impact revenue sharing because they're already at the maximum. So,
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I feel like most people don't actually understand a lot of the financials of the NHL. And we see this every single season when it seems like players don't understand like the ins and outs of it.
but here's the funny part, though. It says, in fact, the NHL believes there is a chance to move to a smaller venue could actually be financially advantageous for the franchise, because guess what? Smaller, intimate venue, higher demand for tickets,
Sure.
higher prices.
Yeah.
Plus, it's in the East Valley. We've been wanting this the entire time, Carl.
Yeah. And people will absolutely like go to a Coyotes game at an ASU arena just to see that. Like I know so many people who just love ASU so much. Like if you told them that there's a professional team playing there, they would absolutely go. There's a lot of good things that will happen with this potentially. I don't see the reason for all the doom and gloom from people. Uh, but it's professional sports. Every once in a while, people get to pretend they care about the actual financial aspects of it, and no one does. They just want the games to happen.
I know. One thing I'll say, though, is one thing that makes me happy now this is pretty much confirmed, is my commute to Coyotes games next year are going to be much, much shorter.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people's commutes are going to be much shorter because, again, most of the hockey people live either closer to downtown or the East Valley, and then you include myself. I live in Tucson, and Tucson to Glendale sucks. Tucson to Tempe is easily manageable.
I think my commute is gonna be maybe 10 minutes longer. It's really frustrating. It's gonna go from like 25 to 35.
Yeah, but if you really wanted to, you can just go to like a light rail station and take the light rail, and you don't have
This
to
is
worry
true.
about traffic at all. You just be like, I'm just gonna.
Yeah, I will probably. I plan on riding more light rail because either way, the Coyotes are going to be very close to light rail for at ASU and then at the new arena. It's not that far.
And one thing I will mention too is think about this. And I mentioned this for Rio Salado, and I'm going to mention it. I'm just going to start calling it that, at least until it gets approved. Just Rio Salado.
Yeah,
Rio Salado versus Multipurpose Arena, and like, look, it's close to Mill Avenue. your fans are going to be drinking before, and you're going to have a rowdy crowd.
Oh, that's gonna be like any kind of like student rush go from like Mill Avenue to the Coyotes game. That is going to be a chaotic environment, I have to say.
I mean, I would totally love to see a packed, rowdy, chaotic arena. It'd just
Yeah.
be amazing to see.
Well, we're gonna get at least 3 years of it.
I'm gonna love it. We still got more to talk to about this situation, though. We're gonna talk about some of the other details, maybe some things we think could that this also impacts for the Arizona Coyotes. We're gonna talk about that in just a moment. But first, I want to let you guys know that BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. As football continues its march through the playoffs, right to the big game in just now a couple of days. BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And not just football, BetOnline has you up to the minute info on pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, with live real-time updates on current games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers for the 2022 season. BetOnline, where the game starts. So let's finish things off and get some of our other final thoughts here on this episode of Locked On Coyotes. As we talk about the Coyotes moving to Tempe at ASU's arena for a temporary location until Slaughter gets built. And let's actually talk about Slaughter for a second, Carl, because I mentioned earlier in this episode that that's still in the pipeline for city council. There was a meeting yesterday, but I looked on the minutes, not talked about, and there's no even set date
Yeah.
really for them to even start talking about it. So it's going to take a while. But I want to take you back to what we were talking about last month when Craig Morgan tweeted that at the time it didn't have the votes and things would look bad because of financial woes and the tax issue and bad news and everything like that. Um, this situation that we have going on now with Arizona State, I think is going to be a huge benefit for the Coyotes in this sense, because now Tempe City Council can look at another thing. They can now look at the fact that the Arizona Coyotes are paying everything up front, that they're doing what they actually did, and that it seems as long as they, everything gets followed through and promised upon, that all their promises, it's like, oh, looks like they, are making good with what they said they were going to do.
Absolutely.
So maybe that will go ahead and say, maybe we can say yes on this.
Yeah. It very well could. It was something that I believe a council member specifically mentioned in a Craig Morgan article. Like, yeah, when you get reports that they're like have unpaid taxes, unpaid rent, that raises concerns. And I think we all knew at the time, like, it's a bad look. It's probably not as serious as Glendale is making it out to be, but it's a bad look.
Mm-hmm.
And if this, you know, if ASU didn't ask for all the money up front, I would not be surprised if the Coyotes were like, "Hey, we're going to pay you all the money up front because we want to have that press story, and we want to make sure that City of Tempe knows that we are in this." And ASU is a big part of Tempe, so they're like,
That's
"Hey,
that's the big part. That's what I was getting at, is
yeah,
because Tempe loves Arizona State.
yeah,
Because Tempe is Arizona State.
yeah."
Like,
They have a lot more, but I think for a lot of people, they are always going to be Arizona State. And Arizona State also owns just a lot of land in Tempe, just so much land.
so I mean that tells you a lot of things right there, right? So if you make a good relationship and show that you're up and cozy with Arizona State, obviously I'm assuming it's probably Tempe's largest employer.
Yeah,
Um, and if you say like, look how good we are with them, city council will be like, I like this.
yeah. It's really good. It's like I cannot imagine a better scenario to make yourself liked by a city council. We are just like, hey, we are working with your number one everything. So like number one employer, probably number one tax generator. Just the amount of things that are connected with Tempe and ASU cannot be understated or overstated, whichever one. But like, yeah, that's just a great working relationship after leaving what was a horrible one with the city of Glendale. They're really just trying to start off on the right foot, and I think everyone kind of appreciates that.
Exactly. Plus, and I think we already know the Coyotes are going to pay most of the Rio Salado development
Yeah,
on in private funds. 1.7 billion. I said 1.6 billion in a Locked On Now video published earlier on Thursday, but 1.7 billion obviously does make a difference.
that's an extra $100
Million
million
dollars.
dollars,
Yeah.
which just goes to show how staggering the things we're talking about are. Like the money that's involved with all this. Uh,
Potentially more too because of that the whole bond thing that Coyotes wanted to for the remediation, land remediation. But
yeah, the whole land remediation thing, I think, is the other just kind of major thing that they need to get resolved, and whatever's going on with the airport. Although I haven't seen much since the press release from the former lobbyist.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff going that way. But either way, this whole thing for the Arizona Coyotes and Arizona State promising, going in the right direction, everything looking good for Arizona. And again, yes, as we said, there are some concerns, but we here at Locked On Coyotes are focused on the positive and trying to take as much positive as we can out of this because, as we said earlier, hockey belongs in the desert, and the Arizona Coyotes are doing what they can to make sure that stays the case.
Absolutely. This was a thing that needed to officially happen, and it's happened, and that's cool. And now we just gotta wait for the next thing to happen, and the next thing, and then in a couple years, new arena.
Yeah, and one last thing I'll say is the good thing that this is happening now, early in the year, is now the Coyotes can now that they know they have a temporary spot, now that they know have a home for at least next season and in a few years beyond, they'd be like, all right, now let's truly focus on Rio Salado. Let's put a lot of focus into that. Go full force on these negotiations.
Yeah,
Um, and instead of potentially partial attention here, partial attention there, maybe we might have a temporary arena over there. Like now, it's like okay, you got that, full steam ahead.
yeah, absolutely. Like these are things that people actually have to do. Like making these deals are not easy. They take a lot of time. There's a lot of back and forth, and it happened. And they're like, cool, let's work on the next one. Everyone who was assigned to that project, you're now on this project, except for two people who stick around and maintain everything.
Absolutely. But I think we're just about at it on time. Unless you have any final thoughts you want to put out there for today on this news coming out for the Arizona Coyotes.
Just everyone, if you're upset about this and you've somehow made it to through this entire episode, I don't imagine how, but if you did, just relax. It's only temporary, and it will be so much better when the big thing happens, when the actual arena happens.
And to the Coyotes fans who were afraid that they were going to leave, you guys rest easy. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah,
Anyways, that's it for today's episode, or for this episode of Locked On Coyotes. I was about to say today, but we have a bonus episode coming out momentarily as well. We're going to discuss preview because today the Arizona Coyotes play the Tampa Bay Lightning. So we're going to have that preview coming up in moments. But first, we're ending this one now. Hope you guys like what you heard. If you did, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you get to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcast, including on YouTube. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We are on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, on Twitter at LockedOnCoyotes, on Instagram at LO_Coyotes. I am personally at Robyn_Leano. It's Robyn with a Y _Leano. Carl Pavlik is at Carl Pavlik FFH. You can interact with us, DM us, mention us, whatever you want. Ask us a question, and we can interact with you right back. Answer those questions directly or on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to this episode. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.